so that there is no confusion, I want to be perfectly clear. Our decision to accept your guilty plea, allowing you to avoid the death penalty, has absolutely nothing to do with mercy. You have done nothing to deserve that. Instead, it has everything to do with silencing your voice. No longer will you be able to sit behind the lie of innocence. There will be no doubt as to who raped and killed Molly and Megan and strangled and raped all the others. It was you. We know it, and now the rest of the world knows it. 1,807 days ago, you made choices. You decided to drug Molly. You decided to rape her. You decided to beat her. You decided to strangle her. And once she was dead, you decided to leave her body on the floor of the shower, alone, for me, her mother, to find. At every single step, with every decision you made, you constantly showed yourself to be a cowardly, selfish, lying, cruel, deceitful, misleading, wicked, evil, malicious, brutal, uncaring, self-centered, conniving, scheming, diabolical, spineless, dehumanized, weak person. Those cowardly decisions have rocked our world every moment of every day since April 10th, 2017. At times, the excruciating, devastating pain that resulted has been almost too much to bear. The images of Molly's body in that shower haunt me still, and are ones I would not wish on my worst enemy, maybe not even you. Molly was a big sister and a little sister who loved her brothers fiercely. She was kind and always believed in the good of people, even those who did not deserve it. Molly was a granddaughter and a cousin, and one day hoped to become an aunt. She was a friend everyone wanted, loyal and dependable, and really, really funny. Molly was a cherished and beloved daughter. She was my right hand. The transparent truth is that you and your cowardice are not solely to blame for Molly's murder. You had many accomplices along the way who are responsible and complicit in growing you from a serial sexual predator into a serial murderous rapist. These accomplices are a little harder to identify because they have the privilege of hiding behind the shield of their job and power. I don't know when you became the coward who preys upon women, raping and strangling at will. I am guessing it was well before 2012, when the Plano Police Department had an early opportunity to save Molly's life. You got lucky that the detective in that case decided you were credible and she was not. He is an ally to predators like you. That detective was given numerous chances to right his wrongs over the years. Despite CODIS hits, the subsequent rapes that you committed, and your dependable use of strangulation to torture the women you raped, none of that seemed to matter to him. He had been handed a serial, sexually sadistic rapist whose use of strangulation should have identified that you were a true and significant threat to society and who should be treated as such. Instead, he did nothing. In 2014, as your pattern of raping and strangling continued, Another young woman gave law enforcement an opportunity to stop you. Although you left her for dead, she survived your brutal attack. This time it was the Allen Police Department who was charged with investigating this violent assault. After enduring your violence, she sacrificed herself even more by submitting herself to a rape kit and putting her trust into a system that I suppose she thought was there to protect her. Once again, you deceived the detective who decided you were credible when you said you had nothing to do with the attack. 3 years later, when the DNA found in the victim's rape kit revealed it belonged to you, one might think that would trigger the detective to take immediate action. Instead, for 41 days, the detective from the Allen Police Department sat on this critical piece of evidence which connected you to the brutal attack that you had promised you had nothing to do with 3 years ago. But your guilty plea to that violent rape cements the truth that had he paid attention, had he done something, anything, at any point during those 41 days, Molly and Megan just might be alive today. Instead, he did nothing. If the Plano Police Department or the Allen Police Department had done their jobs properly, rather than doubting, blaming, shaming, slow playing, and flat out not recognizing you for the cowardly serial rapist you are, Molly would be about to turn 28 and working as a social worker. But for her death, you would still be collecting victims and destroying the lives of their families and friends. I imagine she might be helping to support the same victims that cowardly monsters like you prey upon. But you killed the wrong mama's kid. And her death will protect other women from you and other monsters like you. The missed opportunities to stop you goes beyond the police. Even in a case that was skillfully investigated by detectives in 2014, the Cameron County District Attorney's Office failed to accept and prosecute yet another sexual assault where you strangled a woman. The evidence was solid, and it included DNA and a CODIS hit to the 2012 Plano case. Another silver platter of evidence. Instead, they did nothing. Instead of doing their jobs, law enforcement from agencies across the state failed these women. They negligently disregarded the safety of women in their own communities and left you to walk the parks and streets, attend parties, and enter homes to rape and strangle at will. Most certainly, this outright dereliction of duty empowered and emboldened you, and your pattern escalated to murder. Their actions were lazy, dangerously irresponsible, and as it turns out, deadly. As we move further and further away from April 10th, 2017, I am beginning to see the start of a revolution, a movement. I will spend the rest of my days making sure that this battle is won. The conversation about sexual assault will change, and victims will be empowered to find their voices. No longer will victims of sexual assault sit in silence because they fear that if they speak their truth, they will be blamed and shamed and further traumatized. Those who commit sexual violence and strangulation will be recognized as evil cowards, and they will be held to justice promptly. If not by the current system, then by a path of justice that I've started to build while you sat in jail for over almost 5 years. CODIS hits will be recognized as significant investigative leads and responded to in a timely manner. Law enforcement will look through the lens of trauma and its impact on survivors, and they will do their jobs with that understanding, knowing it is the only way to help bring justice. Instead of blaming victims for lack of cooperation, they will shift to practices which encourage victim safety, well-being, and engagement. They will meet the victim where they are at. And if they cannot adjust their lens, they need to find a different vocation. Rather than only talking to girls about how to not get raped, we're going to start talking to boys about not raping women. Concern for a victim's well-being is going to surpass the concern over a rapist's once bright future. Bystanders will step in and stop predators from committing sexual assault because it is the right thing to do. Prosecutors are going to start taking cases, investing their time and knowledge to win, because juries will understand what consent is and what it is not. Rapists are going to be held accountable and sent to prison. Cowards like you will not be left to continue raping and strangling. There was a time that thoughts of you and your cowardly decision threatened to consume me. I began to realize that if that happened, I was letting you win, and that is not an option. You may have murdered and raped my daughter, Molly. You will not have any power or influence over me. The light, Molly's brilliant, joy-filled, bright light, will shine over the darkness brought by your cowardly decision. The good and change that the system will come because of your cowardly decisions will far outweigh the darkness it brought, because darkness cannot overcome the light. That is not only a scientific fact, it is also one of God's truths. John 1:5 says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." The light is a direct outpouring of all of God's goodness, and also Molly's. Her light is the fuel for the revolution. Her light is what keeps us all going and working and striving to do better. Her light is what inspires me to be brave. Her light is making a difference and will be remembered always. Your cowardly existence will soon be forgotten, and your darkness will be extinguished once and for all. She will always outshine you.